Welcome back to Too Much Future, show about the Fallout games, where we're playing through it. This is episode 55, playing Fallout 4. I'm Cameron, and with me as always is Michael.
Hi, everybody.
I play Tonk in this game, Tonk 4. Michael, you play Eleanor.
Mm-hmm. Just Eleanor.
Yeah, no clever name this time.
No.
What's she up to?
I mean, she's too depressed to be clever.
Wow.
Depressed and angry.
Who isn't these days? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who's got time to be clever? Let me tell you this. In this episode, I met a guy named Sheffield.
Mm-hmm.
Did you meet Sheffield?
I did.
Okay. He's sitting on the ground somewhere. I don't want to spoil where. He's sitting on the ground somewhere, and he's saying to himself, well, I just want to do jet. But the doc... No, I want to drink alcohol. But the doc says I can't. I would love a Nuka-Cola, though. And you can overhear that with your eagle eyes. You know, the lone survivor, whatever you are this time.
Yeah.
And Tonk hears this with his powerful perceptive ears. And I go get a Nuka-Cola. I steal it from the newspaper office. And I walk back over to him and I give it to him. And he says, golly gee whiz, thanks so much. And I say, hey, Sheffield, would you like a job? And Sheffield says, well, I've never had a job before. I guess I'll take a job. And a menu pops up and says, where do you want Sheffield to go? And you can send him to a place that you've been before. So here, you remember way back in Fallout 1, we went to Shady Sands.
Yeah.
And people were wandering around, and they were called peasants.
Yes.
And we thought, what's the political economy of the peasant in this world? Is there a feudal lord running around? You know, go back to this like episode 1 or 2 of Too Much Future. And I'm here to finally answer the question. Sheffield is your peasant.
Oh, boy.
Right? Isn't that it?
I don't know. I didn't do this.
I'm going to give him food and water. Right? I'm going to give him electricity. I'm going to make him, work in the potato plants. Which, by the way, tato sounds like potato, but it's tomatoes. Very annoying.
I thought the implication there was that over 200 years of nuclear fallout, potatoes and tomatoes had somehow merged into the same thing.
Well, they don't look that way. They just look like a tomato.
That is true.
Because they are. Look, people love to tell me about this. I didn't know that you could. I think we found this out on the charity stream, right? On Prepare to Give, the most recent one. That a potato and a tomato can, because they are still in the same family, you can actually graft them together. But it will make very small tomatoes and very small potatoes. Which makes me, there's a reason they're two different plants.
Right.
But anyway, this is it. Finally, Fallout 4 delivers us the political economy that we wanted the whole time.
Yeah.
Who is the peasant defined against? Well, it's the player character.
Yeah. Yeah, and really, Fallout 76 really helps here, because now we know that before Fallout 1 even happens, there's all sorts of player characters who've been out running around, resettling the wasteland, and so that's where all the peasants come from.
Right. We've resolved it.
Yep, dust our hands.
Aradesh himself in his big wizard's robe. Well, Sheffield works for me now. And here's a little bit of a weird thing. I said, Sheffield, go live in Sanctuary Hills. And then I teleported to Sanctuary Hills, and I can't find him.
I think he has to walk there.
He's got to walk there?
I'm pretty sure, because I switched out some companions this time. I had Codsworth with me. And I switched him out for Piper, and then Codsworth just turned around and left Diamond City. He just went up the stairs complaining the entire time, and then disappeared. I think he just zipped back to Sanctuary Hills. Yeah,
there he goes.
Mm-hmm.
What did we get up to in this episode?
Well, this episode we finally go into the city, and we find a city within the city, it's not a great city, but it's a non-ruined city within the larger ruined city. And we met some people, and we did some things. This game is weird.
It's wacky.
Well, that was
It's
my
weird and wacky.
that was my feeling this time. I think I mentioned last episode, like the first, I don't know, little slices of this game were weirdly absent of your typical Fallout humor, and then it all just comes like barreling in here.
I will tell you the number. There's lots of jokes in Fallout that are haha. Like in my brain, a little gremlin that lives there that appreciates humor. Some sort of humor ingesting creature. When you play Fallout, when you watch the movie Mallrats, that little gremlin is going, "Ah!" and it's sated, right? It's laughing its little butt off.
He can't see the 3D image. Ha ha ha.
Right, exactly. Right, the little gremlin is saying it's a sailboat. And when that little kid says it's a schooner is a sailboat. That little gremlin, it's happening, right? But when I'm playing Fallout, it's not like that. The little gremlin is sitting there, and he's got a beret on, and he's got like a little wine glass, and he goes, "Ha ha." That's funny, right? It's intellectual humor.
Yeah.
Right. It's not visceral humor. And so most of the Fallout jokes are that, like, "Oh, that's clever," right? I laughed out loud at a joke in this episode, and you might not even have seen it because I think that she like kind of goes around. Did you meet Cricket outside of Diamond City?
No, I didn't.
Cricket's like a trader. There's like several traders with Brahmin that go around, and so there's
Yeah.
a trader's point, I think, right outside Diamond City. And so she just happened to be there, and she kind of looks like a ghoul. I mean, she looks in bad health. She looks like she's addicted to some sort of drug with a terrible name, like body rot or something, right? And but she sells guns predominantly, and her name's I think maybe Cricket the Gun Barterer. I don't know why I wrote that down. If her name is Cricket, but I don't know why I wrote the Gun Barterer if that's not her name. So. But she says, hey, I got plenty of things. She's got this little bit of like a high-pitched voice. She's got a little bit of a Tiny Tina going on here. Mm-hmm. But then she says, when you like trade with her, she says, every gun you buy, I will plant a tree in your honor. And then I'll blow it up for you. and it's like this little like additional line, and I'll blow it up for you. And it's very funny. I'll put it in there. I'll try to find it and I'll put it in the episode right here so people can see it. But it's a funny joke, funny line. Whoever wrote that bark, that's the funniest line in a Fallout so far.
I unfortunately did not encounter her or this line.
That's okay. Yeah. So you went from I don't even know where we were in the last episode. The auto parts plant, the Corvega plant, I guess.
Well, I was back around Sanctuary Hills, and the truck stop or whatever. Because as I said, in between kind of recording sessions, I'm just going out and I'm like tooling around the map, like trying to get a sense for how this game feels, right? How it would, since I've never played it before. Like I'm trying to get a sense for what a playthrough that is not beholden to kind of the format of a show might feel like, or the things you might encounter if you were just doing your normal Bethesda open world thing.
Mm-hmm. Building up Sanctuary Hills, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, nothing is happening there, but I went ahead and like put people's beds inside a house.
That's very kind of you.
Yeah. It made them 1 point happier.
I've done all kinds of stuff. I like built a little shack. I built a TV shack for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you can clear a couple of the houses entirely.
Yeah.
And so I built a little TV shack, built a big generator, put power in the building. I moved all my workshop stuff. It's just outside in the garage. I moved that all inside.
Mm-hmm.
Put some paintings on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
One's of a big cat playing with a ball of yarn. It's fun. I don't know what else I did. So the reason I say that is I did all that and they didn't really get any happier.
Yeah.
They're I don't know, little rootlings. I've also planted the entire curb space.
Mm-hmm.
Like the space between the sidewalk and the curb. That's all planted with plants, with mute fruit and whatnot for them to eat and not be dead.
Yeah, I wasn't sure as I was doing stuff. I wasn't sure if like further things happening with the settlements is like gated behind, me having hit another point in the main story or something. So I didn't do too much fooling around with it. I just sort of like went around and cleaned things up, and yeah, as I said, put their beds inside.
Yeah, you will eventually have to do some more like story content in the settlement, but really not a huge amount. Strangely enough. Also, did you look at like all the things you can build?
Oh yeah.
You can build like a big like torturing cross. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. I saw that. I was like, okay, this is interesting. You can just like build a train car, like an abandoned train car. Just I went around the neighborhood and reprocessed all the old abandoned vehicles and like turned them into an abandoned train car, I guess.
Look, everyone wants to be a boxcar child. Like that's just a fact.
They want to drink that milk that they keep in the river.
What?
The boxcar children, that's how they keep their milk cold, is they have a little bottle of milk and they keep it like submerged in the river
I
to
don't
keep
remember
it chilled.
that at all. I read all those books too. I think this is maybe the third time we've talked about the Boxcar Children on the podcast.
Maybe.
I think we are a high rate of Boxcar Children. For a program that's not dedicated to the Boxcar Children, we have talked about the Boxcar Children quite often.
That'll be our next podcast, the Boxcar Men.
Yeah. People would love it. Sound off in the comments if you would listen to the Boxcar Men, which is just one episode per book on the entirety of the Boxcar Children. How many could there be?
Let's find out.
Boxcar Children series. I'm going to look. There's going to be 80.
Yeah. Oh, certainly.
Oh, my God. There's so many of these children. List of Boxcar Children novels. Oh, my God. There are. Oh, holy shit. There's 161.
Oh, man. Yeah, they're still coming out.
One came out in 2022 called The Raptor Rescue.
And that's not counting any of the Great Adventures, the special series. Oh my gosh, the Boxcar Children Creatures of Legend, The Secret of Bigfoot Valley, Mystery of the Hidden Elves, Mermaids of the Deep Blue Sea, Myth of the Rainforest Monster.
Cool. They got way better. Here's the difference. The Boxcar Children number 2 is just called Surprise Island. Number 4, Mystery Ranch. Number 5, this is somehow worse, Mike's Mystery.
Caboose Mystery. Houseboat Mystery. Snowbound Mystery.
Bus Station Mystery. Benny uncovers a mystery. No shit, Benny uncovered a mystery. That's everything you do is mysteries, Boxcar Children. Gertrude Chandler Warner. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Someone mod in. Look, here's the deal. Viewer listeners. If you mod in a Boxcar Children mystery into this game, we'll play it. We'll do an episode on it. You've got probably 4 months. We're probably in this game for eternity. So start working. We'll play it.
Yep.
And if you find one, let us know if there's one that already exists. There's
Yeah.
enough train cars in this game. Good God. So you made your way down there.
Mm-hmm.
Got to Diamond City. Anything interesting happened on the way to Diamond City?
Nothing super interesting. I did pass another vault. One that you mentioned the traders that are walking around, and I mentioned them last episode. So one of the traders that I mentioned, or that I ran into, said that he didn't have anything, and he was going to another vault to restock, and he marked it on my map, and I happened to pass it as I was coming by. It's Vault 81. I went ahead and went in to see what was going on there, and it wasn't abandoned. There were people inside, and they wanted to, I tried to get in, but they wouldn't let me in. I had to explain who I was and what I was doing, and Eleanor is not in that business, and so she didn't, and so they didn't let her in, and she just kept going, and I will probably go back there and check it out once I'm fairly certain that, the main quest isn't going to make us go there for some reason.
I think, which do you know what number it is?
81.
I do believe the game will send us there. A little hunch, based on having played it 7 years ago, whenever it came out. Things I want to talk about before we talk about Quest stuff.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
One other thing that I ran into that's new. These radiation storms.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So I was walking into the city, and it all got cloudy and green and lightning, and there were radiation storms. And I was like, well, this is new. And then every time there was a lightning flash, I got like 5 rads. And I literally couldn't do anything about it. And that was it. Like, I was just like walking through, like I was, in the middle of traversing the landscape, and in order to get out of this radiation storm, I was going to have to go inside, only there was nothing inside near me. So I just got radiation poisoning for a good long while until the storm cleared. If there's some way, I was expecting kind of I mentioned that I played No Man's Sky, right? It really reminded me of that, where in No Man's Sky, you'll end up on a planet and it'll be like, oh, it's too dang cold or something, like build a shelter as fast as you can. None of that stuff happened here, but that was almost what I was expecting to happen, that like some sort of tutorial window was going to pop up and tell me how to like construct, like, I don't know, makeshift shelter or something. It didn't happen. I just got radiation poisoning. So I guess these are things that just run around the map and you avoid them. And I guess at some point maybe you'll have opportunities to deal with them if you're wearing special armor or something.
Yeah, is there some sort of, I don't know, suit you could be wearing that would negate the rads from Radiation Storm?
I mean, I don't think so.
Okay.
I can't see the sense in carrying around an entire suit just to deal with a radiation storm.
Oh, what if it was powered?
Well, here's the thing. It's not.
But this is another way the game is funneling you toward that, basically, right. is what I'm saying. But also you can buy, I mean, a pretty interesting thing here is if you go to any of the, or most of the, stuff like clothing sellers, they sell a rad suit. And you just pop that bad boy on.
That makes sense. Okay.
So yeah, no real building mechanic, just because I don't think the game is, built to handle that. But yeah, that's I think that's pretty interesting. Changes the whole thing. There's a lot of weather. Like a lot of weather.
There's been a lot of rain and everything.
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't had a lot of rain. I've had a lot of fog in my game, which really Silent Hills the shit out of this thing.
It does.
You know what I mean? It's just like, oh my God, what's going on out there? So you got Codsworth up until you meet Piper, basically?
Yeah, until I sort of get a sense for how many companions there are. And apparently you can only have one companion at a time in this game. That's what it seems like. Because I was like, hey, Piper, come along with me. And then Codsworth was like, well, I'm going back to Sanctuary Hills. And that was when he complained as he like zipped up the stairs.
Yep, you can only do one. I do believe that that's like some of the more popular mods are just literally changing that. I think part of it has to do with the what do you call it? The kind of, they're not quite procedural, but like the companion interactions with the world. Like, have you noticed any of that yet?
Yeah, like companions have observations about things that you pass or that you walk around. Like, they're more. It's similar things happened in New Vegas, but they seem sort of even more reactive here.
And sometimes they're a full dialogue. Like if you've got Piper, I've got one in my recording where Piper just like stops and is like, hey, give me a second, and goes and interviews someone. And they're like, I don't want to buy your newspaper. Which is very, very, very funny. But so I think that's part of it. It's just like, they're trying to make sure that you're like focusing in on these people or whatever. Because I know that I mean, that's the thing I've heard is there's popular mods for that. I actually just went to the Nexus mods page for this, and that's not even like in the top 15.
Yeah.
Let me here. This is what people love about the show. Let me read you the most popular mods.
Okay.
Number 1, Armor Smith Extended.
Great.
You can do. This is the description for that mod. This mod does so much awesome stuff that the description doesn't come anywhere close to fitting here. There's an armor and weapons keywords, community resource. There's a character creation mod, dialogue interface that will tell you exactly what you're about to say, as opposed to like the wheel.
Oh, yeah.
That's just like sarcastic. Do you notice it's like most of these things are yes, no, clarification, sarcastic?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why is there always the option to be sarcastic? I'm never going to be sarcastic.
Because it's Fallout, Cameron.
And also, the male character sounds like John Hamm. He sounds like a combination of John Hamm and Chris Franklin from Errant Signal. And I can't get that out of my head.
I wouldn't know, because I haven't heard him since he got murked.
Oh. What does Eleanor sound like? I don't even know.
She sounds... I don't want to like disparage the voice actress, but she sounds a little bit like Jennifer Hale. I don't mean that comparison in like they should have just got Jennifer Hale kind of way, but she has kind of that sort of bearing, right? I think particularly, Jennifer Hale as Femshep. She can be very like clear and no nonsense, right?
Right, direct.
Yeah.
Courtney Taylor.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't think that's disparaging in any kind of way. When someone comes along and so heavily dominates, the like VO character created VO process for like 1 million video games. When you go into voice direction, someone's going to be like, "Well, Jennifer Hale, the way she does blah blah blah."
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to happen. It's not. I don't think it's her. She apparently was in Fallout New Vegas.
Oh yeah, she was.
Gloria Van Graff, Janet, Morgan Blake. I don't know who any of these people are. It's been a minute since we played that.
Yeah.
Played Ada Wong in Resident Evil Damnation in the film.
Oh,
Played Dr. Poison in Wonder Woman Bloodlines. Was in Robot Chicken as the Monopoly Mom. Was unique in The Sopranos Road to Respect.
Okay.
Played Rosa in Binge Round.
Oh, what?
In the ARG Binge Round.
Yeah.
We don't do this. This is not our kind of thing, and we would never be. I don't think we would ever do a show like this. He said, but I really don't think we ever would. But there's like creepypasta, like research and analysis YouTube channels.
Oh, of course I know.
Yeah, I just feel like that's like in your universe of stuff.
They reach out to me sometimes.
Oh, of course they do. I haven't even thought about that. You're on the inside.
Yeah.
But we could do really good ones of that. We would be very good at that. Unfortunately, we don't have the voices.
Mm-hmm.
I would refuse to do the voice because I find them silly. But in a general sense, right? Like, can you imagine us going 10 episodes on Binge Round?
Yeah.
And be like, here's the forum thread on the something off of creepypasta. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway.
I do. I remember. I was reading that.
Yeah, me too. That Godzilla game too. That NES hack.
Yeah.
Still the best. 1979. Hell yeah. But anyway, that stuff is good. God, I'm sorry. I've gotten us so off track. Also, by the way, there's a mod to just let you import John Wick and be John Wick in the game. That's just for funsies. All right. What about the aesthetic? We talked about a little bit about environment stuff, and I do think it's really cool for it to be raining or foggy or whatever, and you're kind of like going over these hills and valleys. What we talked about, I think, in the last episode about the density of stuff in this game, I think that really works. I think the weather effects really add. This game is qualitatively different when it comes to like environment stuff, and I think that's really cool. But the aesthetic has changed a lot, I think, too.
Yeah. As you said, there seems to be just like more stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's not like you're going every few meters and there's like a new settlement, but there's usually like, I don't know, like a little car to poke into or some sort of camper, like things that get marked on your map. And then when you get into like the city, it feels less like it has often felt, particularly in sort of the more urban parts of like Fallout 3, where it was just kind of like they were using buildings to make walls to like trap you into like a little square or plaza for some shooting gallery stuff. It feels more just like, yeah, like there are like these streets are ways further into the city. Some of them end up being blocked or whatever. There's some really nice ambient noise where like you can hear the cables, I think, that are holding up the old street lights kind of like creak in the wind, and you can hear that sort of echoing down the streets, and that's really neat. And then when you get to Diamond City, the look is more colorful, question mark, than we've seen in like a post Bethesda Fallout. Well, I mean, maybe any Fallout game. There's something like oddly steampunky about it, but not obnoxious, if that makes sense. Maybe that's just because maybe I'm reacting to Piper's hat.
Right. They're leaning into the retro future thing.
Yeah.
Even more than they have before, I think. There's something, especially with Diamond City, that's kind of why I'm bringing this up here, is that I think you can get a feel for it until here, but now when you see like the Diamond City guards, right, and they're like umpire uniform, and you start seeing like the different, like now I finally saw a metal chest piece, and you know the different mods to those chest pieces make them look different. So it's like this bird cage essentially. It's kind of Terry Gilliam-y, you know, in some ways. It's somewhere between, you know, if there's a triangle of like steampunk, retrofuturism, Terry Gilliam, right? Like Fallout 4 is aiming for something between those 3 points, which is really weird. There's a lot of Brazil in this game, weirdly enough.
Yeah, that is, yes, right. Like the way that we have this kind of like futuristic angle, but also like the mayor, who we meet very shortly after arriving at Diamond City, like the way he's just trying to wear like a normal like fedora and like business suit kind of thing.
Right. Oh, I love the mayor. I'm the mayor. But he's great. I want to talk about him in a minute here too. Some stuff, yeah, I just like really started noticing it, you know, like especially when you get into the city, and also that it's not like, you know, what we talked about in Fallout 3. Obviously, these are different console generations. Obviously, there's a whole like changed set of development tools. Like this, you know, time happens. So take what I'm about to say, view a listener with that in mind. But like Fallout 3 solved a lot of problems with trash piles that you could not navigate around. But Fallout 4 does not do that.
Right.
You know, it's a little bit more navigable. It feels like kind of a little bit more of a lived-in space. It's much more dense. And again, it's just because they could do that. I know that if they could have done that in the previous version of the engine, that they would have. You know, I think a lot about, even though this is not Bethesda, it's the Obsidian studio, but Josh Sawyer talking about the strip and how the strip had to be broken up into sections. And, I mean, he's talked about this on a bunch of places. You know, he's talked about it on Twitter and answering questions or whatever, right? But like the fact that it's not one continuous space, that's because of technical limitations. That is not because of anything they want to do. It had to do with like console memory and what could be, you know, and the fact that you couldn't, that it's like elbowed, and so you can't really look down the strip in any kind of way. That's all because of console technical limitations. And so you do get the sense here that like, all right, those some of the most restrictive things about what was going on with the interaction between the Bethesda development suite, right, and the hardware, some of those things have now smoothed out a lot, and the increased capability of like Xbox One, PS4 means that they can actually do those things of long sight lines and stuff like that.
Right.
Which is rad. I also got a load menu with a magazine in it, like the automobile magazine. Have you seen this one?
I don't think so, or if I did, I didn't like bother looking at it closely.
There's like an inflation joke on it. That's like just $35.
Oh, I did see that there was a magazine that was $35, and I was like, damn.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the you know, like at the end of, and I think that's what, isn't that from the Fallout Bible that like inflation blew up?
I think so.
I think that was in there.
Weirdly enough, back in my pristine pre-war life, we weren't complaining about it.
That's true. Everyone loved it.
And we weren't like, damn, this new plague is going around destroying everyone.
Right. We weren't.
Yeah.
This FEV helps like, my kids grow up big and strong.
Yeah. Here we are in the middle of the resource wars.
Oh gosh. Well, maybe we'll learn more about that. But yeah, so Diamond City.
Yeah.
This is where we're going. We were directed to Diamond City by Preston Garvey, maybe?
Mama Murphy, in my case.
Mama Murphy. Mama Murphy said, hey, go to Diamond City. Did you give her any more jet, by the way?
No.
I gave Mama Murphy more jet, and she gave me a little bit of like a prophecy that I've forgotten now, and I probably should have written down. But it was like, when these two people ask you blah, tell them blah. And
okay.
I've totally forgot what that means. And then she's like, I need somewhere to sit down. And so then I was given the ability to build a special object, which is Mama Murphy's chair. And I built it for her. And I put it in a carport. And she sits in it now. But Diamond City.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of signs on the way there.
There are. Diamond City really wants you to know how to get there.
You're not getting lost, bro.
Yeah, you like zip up through the streets. I passed through like a little square where some Diamond City security guys are fighting some super mutants. So super mutants are here, hooray. And then I couldn't fight them because they were going to kill me. And also I was like dying of radiation poisoning. So I just like slipped through there, went to Diamond City, and ran into a lady named Piper outside asking to be let in.
What'd you do?
Well, I listened to her. She is like a reporter or something. There's a security guard on the other end named, I think, Danny Sullivan. Because we're in Boston, in case you forgot.
These Boston accents, by the way.
Yeah.
Some of them are like this. I live in Boston. Some of them are like this. I'm in The Sopranos. My family. And it's very confusing to me. The normalizing of the Boston accent did not really happen here.
No, it didn't. And they're just like, so Piper and the guard are arguing. The guard's like, the mayor doesn't want to let you in because you figure out in short order she's some sort of reporter. She printed something that the mayor doesn't like. And then she sees you. Or at least in my case, she saw me and she was like, hey, play along. And then she was like, oh, there's a trader out here with me that wants in. If you don't let us in, then someone named Myrna will be really upset. Like, it'll be bad for the economy. And so then they like let us in. Except also like, I'm not playing along at all. I'm just seeing, I'm continuing to see kind of like what this game does with me sort of not being cooperative with it. And its response is so far to acknowledge that I'm being uncooperative and then just automatically do the thing that it would do if I were being cooperative, which I think is an interesting design choice.
Maybe Fallout made this world. You know, but you can respond to every single conversation in this game with sarcasm, and they will pretend as if you said yes, right? Is that
yes?
True?
Basically.
So I mean, it's an odd kind of maneuver that you can do, as opposed to Fallout 1 and 2, right? Where you could, if you are too sarcastic, they will turn hostile and murder you,
right?
Which is such a that's a simulationist view of the world, I think. But.
If you're too smart-mouthed to a person in a city that you just met, then everyone in the city aggroes you.
Yeah, as well it should be.
I mean, that's Boston.
Hey, where is Diamond City located?
Diamond City is where Fenway Park is. It is Fenway Park. Though? Not exactly.
Right? Isn't that it's funny to me that it is Fenway Park, but not with the name on it, right?
Right.
Because they can't use the name.
No, they can't use the name. They can't refer to the Red Sox by name. But it is, the analog to Fenway Park. They even have the giant gas company sign that's like right outside.
Oh, is that like a thing?
No, the giant. There's like a very famous like giant Citgo sign outside of Fenway Park, and you can look up over the edge of Diamond City, and you can see the Fallout World's analog, which is like a Poseidon Energy thing, I think.
What an awful world we live in.
I know, it's really
the iconic gas company sign.
Like when I'm riding in on the train for work, right? Like I can look out over the city and I can see that sign, and I'm like, right there's Fenway Park.
Let's celebrate our largest, most pollutant corporations who pulled the dinosaur juice out of the ground and let us burn it to cart around the world. Let's get a big old sign up about them. Let's just really celebrate them out.
Yep.
Great. But you got, so Piper's trying to get in. She's like banned from Diamond City or whatever, but it doesn't really matter. Her sister lives in there.
Yeah.
Whose name's not Nell, but it's something like that.
Nat.
I really like the conversation she has with the mayor. So Piper is like a journalist. She's wearing a little, like a Newsies hat with it's red pleather.
Yeah.
With a matching, like coat on. It doesn't seem to be very cold there. I don't think I'd be wearing a coat that's quite that large. But, but then the mayor is there, Mayor McDonough. And he's like, "Oh, I hate you you're lying newspapers. The government hates them."
Yeah, I like immediately get pulled into this conversation. Oh, sorry, like my throat's...
You okay? You crying? I'm gonna leave it in. I'm gonna leave Michael crying in the episode.
I'm not crying. I just swallowed a bunch of dust.
I'm just eating dirt, okay?
I'm just eating dirt, my morning dirt. Yeah, no, I immediately get, like, pulled into... So the guard opens the door, and the mayor's just, like, hanging out there.
Yeah.
And I immediately get pulled into this argument between him and Piper about, like... She's literally like, "Do you support the news? Like, the freedom of the press?"
Right.
And
I was like, "Well, do you mean like InfoWars, or do you mean a newspaper?"
Right.
Because here's the thing. Piper kind of runs the InfoWars.
Yeah,
Diamond City.
Yeah, she sort of does. We learn in a little bit. I was like, this doesn't concern me. I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to weigh in on this.
Yeah, it is wild to me because like what we learn, and I too really don't weigh in on this. I say I don't really know what a newspaper is. They didn't have them back when I was alive. But you do this and you think about it, and then you like go in there and you realize that like what's the name of her paper?
The Public Observer.
God, what up?
Or Public Occurrences. That's it.
Right.
And she spells it public with a CK on the end, in reference to you, Cameron Kunzelman.
That's me. Yeah. Uh-huh. I wrote in and I said, "I'm reviewing this game. You better put my initials in it."
No, that's like this is another like funny thing about this is like that's a particularly Bostonian move to do kind of like the antiquated like 17th, 18th century spellings of certain things like public.
Is that like did Benjamin Franklin publish Public Occurrences or something?
Probably it wouldn't surprise me if that was like the actual name of an old newspaper in the Boston area.
Right. But yeah, you find out that she is like a fear merchant.
Yes.
Right? She's like Fox Newsified the newspaper because the newspaper is just about how the Institute is replacing everyone with sense. They kidnap people and then replace them with sense, which is true. That has occurred, but it's maybe not the only thing going on in the world. You know what I mean? It's like maybe, like, I don't know. Like some people are killed by, like terrifying nightmare things, like poisoned, like poisoned vegetables.
Oh, okay.
But we don't need to write the newspaper article that's like poisoned vegetables are killing people every day.
Right.
It's not necessarily the thing to focus on. Piper's not interested in the positive aspects of Diamond City. She's not interested in Nuka-Cola charity. She's not interested in the wall painting guy. She's not interested in the Baseball Hall of Fame. She's interested in synths are killing people. Synths are the Institute is kidnapping people and replacing them with robot people.
Mm-hmm.
Stepford Wives style.
Mm-hmm.
But with less social commentary than the Stepford Wives.
Right.
And that's very interesting to me.
And she also is like handwriting all of these newspapers. Because when you read them, it's like a handwriting font.
Well, that's what I think she handwrites the first one. Because there is like a mimeograph machine.
There is, yeah.
In her thing. Because they have electricity in Diamond City.
Mm-hmm. Electricity in schools.
Yeah, they got that all going, and it is really cool designed, right? Like it's the field itself, the baseball, the green, what's that called? I don't even know.
I don't know.
The pitch.
Yeah, the cricket pitch.
I don't know what that's called. Yeah, the cricket pitch. I don't know, the green part. So that's where everything is, but then like the upper class of the city, it's really Jameson, right? It's cognitively mapped. The lower classes live on the bottom, and the upper classes live up above. You know, they're the box seat people, I think is what they're called, or upper stadium. I don't remember what there's a term.
The upper stands or something.
Upper stands. But I went in here. You know, we were doing the mission Jewel of the Commonwealth. So you go in. I talked to a guy named Doodly-doo McDonough. Nope, not him. That's the mayor. Pastor Clemens. He's standing right beside the entrance, and I just talked to him and I said, "Hey, I'm looking at my son Sean. He's a pastor," and he says, "Hey, you should go talk to Nick Valentine." And so I do, and I turn a corner, and we're in I don't know, 1960s LA.
Yeah.
There's a neon sign.
Like Diamond City has one street that's just 1960s LA.
Yeah, it's like a big, like, Fallout ass, you know, kind of zone with like a bunch of merchants and things like that. There's a Japanese robot that's there. That prepares food. You know, we can probably talk about that at some point. But you go, and there's Nick Valentine's office. I meet a lady in there who's like, Nick Valentine's gone. He's gone. And like, we're in a noir now, right? Like 100%. She's like, he's gone. And I was like, well, where is he? She's like, probably he's kidnapped by raiders or something. I don't know. Here's a map point. Go think about it. And then we get the quest to like do Nick Valentine stuff, which will lead us further down the main quest. But we're not doing that today. We're doing some stuff in the city here. What'd you get up to? What'd you get up to in the city? We'd met Piper, but she's off doing her own thing.
Yeah. I did a lot of just like walking around and exploring, seeing what was here. You know, I talked to that pastor, for instance. I had multiple conversations that were somewhat amusing because, as I said, I'm playing a little reticently, and so every single conversation that I have is structured such that it builds toward my player character having to eventually say to the other character, "This is who I am, and this is what I'm doing." Right? I'm a vault dweller, and I'm looking for my son Sean. He was kidnapped, and every single time I get to because actually how it works is eventually each character asks you, like, who are you and what are you doing here? Right? And then you have like the option to answer. And every single time I just shut it down. It's like say nothing. And it's just like, I prefer to keep that to myself. And then the other person gets like lightly offended. So I just have like maybe 6 different versions of this conversation of me trying to figure out like what this place is, you know, asking for the typical exposition questions, like what the hell's the Institute, what's Diamond City, that sort of thing, ending with I'm not going to tell you anything, bye. But then I also, as I'm exploring, I see these neon signs and I'm like, oh, that's promising, right? Private investigator. So I follow them and then I meet, this woman, her Ellie Perkins, who also says the same thing about Nick Valentine. Specifically, he's probably at Park Street Station. Okay. And then she's like, could you go help him? And I'm like, no, I don't have time. So then I went out and just saw some other things. Like there's a guy who runs a radio station. He won't say anything to me because he's extremely nervous, ? I'm not sure what's going on with him.
I don't know.
There's some sort of, there's a neat little, like, agricultural space out here. I talked a lot with, I think, Nat, Piper's little sister, or at least, you know, I got the newspaper from her and I read up on all of this synth stuff. And then eventually, you know, after I felt like I had kind of met everyone, there's like a little, like, there's a weird science building. Did you see this?
No.
There's like these 2 doctors.
I feel like you saw way more than I did here, and I felt like I walked around, but maybe not.
Yeah, no. I mean, I explored everywhere. I also like went up into the upper stands, and I got involved in this guy's like wife cheating on him, or like drinking too much at a bar or something. I don't know. That quest line is still kind of like in it running. I didn't really do much with it. But it was a weird thing. There's like a little like it's almost like a children's science museum or something is kind of the vibe, where there are these 2 scientists whose names I didn't write down. These 2 scientists who keep talking about how it's like the science like exclamation point center. And every time they say science, there's an exclamation point in the subtitles for their dialogue.
A joke, like almost 10 years too old already when this game comes out.
Right. I was like, wow, this is something. Although it doesn't play it as hard as like, the robots in the big MT.
Right.
And eventually, like one of the scientists was just like, "Can you go kill a bloatfly and get a bloatfly gland for me?" And I was like, "Nah, no, not really. Bye." But
I Fucking Love Science was founded in 2012. So to give you an idea of like where we are in the science pipeline of history.
So this game comes out what, 2015?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So pretty close. I thought it was earlier, but it couldn't have been earlier because it kind of blew up with social media. So that makes a lot of sense.
So anyway, yeah, like that's kind of like they talk about how they like give science lessons to the children. There's a big deal about how like Diamond City has public infrastructure, right? Electricity, schools, medical help, that sort of thing. And then eventually I wander back around because Piper said like, "Come talk to me." And I go into her newspaper offices and she interviews me. And she just like wants to know about like my history and what's up. And because the game is written in this way, I have no other choice but to tell her something about myself. So Eleanor explains that she wants to know like, what was it like in the vault? I don't really know because I was frozen. Like that was the experience of being in the vault, was being frozen.
Right.
So you're from the time before, right? You're from the pre-war times. How does it compare? And I'm just like, what do you mean? Like, you really can't compare like what's happening now to like what life was like before. What are you up to? What are you looking for? Finally, I have to admit it to someone, because I, again, don't really have a choice not to. Looking for my son, Sean, I guess, if I have to. And then, do you think that the Institute stole Sean? I don't know. I don't know who the hell the Institute is. Everyone's just talking about them and saying they're replacing people with robots. Again, not really comparable to what my life was like 3 days ago. Mm-hmm. Subjectively.
Right.
And do you have any, like, because people are disappearing in Diamond City, do you have any, like, words of wisdom or like, sort of, ways of dealing with this to help people? And I'm like, yeah, get revenge.
Yeah, of course, revenge. That's basically the exact same set of answers, except I said I think you should have hope, or no, take every day, one day at a time. I think is what I said for the last one, but that's basically the same thing. I didn't want to overstate what I knew about the world. You know? You don't want to make claims you can't back up. And then she's like, "Okay, thanks so much. I'm going to run that through the newspaper. Hey, can I hang out with you forever?
Yeah."
Like all the time? Can I hang out with you?
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I figure as the second I meet someone who will be my companion, I will switch them out and try them all out. Since also historically, if you're just now joining Too Much Future as a viewer listener, historically, Eleanor is the one who tries to build the biggest party.
You're going to get a mod in there? You're going to mod it and put some more party members in?
I didn't know if modding was allowed, but if modding is allowed, I'm definitely going to see how many party members I can get.
I feel like that's, I don't know if modding's allowed in the broadest sense, but I feel like, a key component of Fallout games has been that you can have as many as many companions as like charisma allows,
Mm-hmm.
and you've been holding on to that this whole time. And now you only get one.
Yeah.
Seems unfair to the method,
Yeah, it kind of does.
So, I think mostly the mod, for me in my mind, right? Like, we don't really want to mod to change key gameplay stuff because we talk about, gameplay stuff. Well, we really kind of probably don't want to mod the graphics because we want to,
Mm-hmm.
you want it to look the way it looks, right? But I don't know. I don't get the sense this game is like balanced super well around your companions,
No.
given how ineffective they are. So I don't know. Your balls in your court. You can do what you want.
Okay.
I think we can make a live choice here.
I'll look at the companion mods and kind of see like what happens, like if any sort of like provisos they might have there about what happens when you install them. But
15 Cogsworths.
I would at least like to go back to the New Vegas situation where I can have like a human companion and then like a robot or / animal companion.
Mm-hmm. Inhuman.
Mm-hmm.
A human and an inhuman.
Right.
Did some other quests here. Sorry. Let me tell you about did you hear McDonough's speech?
Yes, I like. It was raining when this happened. This was when
I
I was
actually
like,
sat down on a bench to listen to the whole thing.
so did I. Because I came around to like these little stands, and he was like up on like a scaffolding, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And I tried to talk to him, and it was like, that character is busy. And I turned around, and then like all of the other NPCs in the city were like running. Like running up to the benches, and then everyone sat down. And so yeah, I sat down, and we all sat there in the pouring rain while he gave his speech.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he basically gives a speech that's just like, "Hey, you gotta have faith in me," blah blah blah. But the end of it is him saying, "I am not a synth."
Yes.
And he's just Nixon, right? And he like actually the end of that after that is like almost exactly the Nixon speech too. And it's just funny. Funny little gag.
And this is also, like, to be clear, in case you're a View listener who hasn't played this, like, this is what Piper has accused him of either being too friendly with the Institute/synths or himself being a synth.
Right. And so he's just assuring everyone that he's not. So, like, being a good American's not being the Institute, not being the synth, which is funny.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a guy standing right there. The reason I found that is there was a guy standing there and he's painting the big green monster.
Mm-hmm.
But with the serial numbers filed off. Just the wall.
Yes.
And it protects everybody. You get a sense this guy like worships the wall a little bit because it's never been breached.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, hey, we need paint to paint this wall to keep it looking tip-top, freshy fresh. Can you go get some paint from the paint store? And I said, sure. And so I went to the paint store, which has a cool little scripted mission in it.
Oh, yeah, Hardware Town.
Hardware Town. Yeah, I mean, this is the weird thing. This is the Michael Lutz experience. Did you do this little questy quest thing, or did you just blaze through Hardware Town?
I got weirdly enough, so this game is giving you a lot of like little quest leads from like being near NPCs who say things. That's a thing that I've noticed.
Yeah.
So I didn't find this guy. Someone near me when I was in town said something about it, but I also wasn't listening because I was paying attention to something else. But my character was close enough that I, quote unquote, heard some sort of bark or like, hook for this quest.
Right.
So I'm doing whatever I'm doing. And then it pops up on my screen like, meet Abbott at the wall. And I was like, who the hell is Abbott? What the hell is the wall? Like, what's going on? So I switch over to like that quest marker and follow it. And then I was like, okay, I guess I overheard someone saying this guy needed paint because I hadn't touched Hardware Town. I actually came in a slightly different direction.
Yeah, same. Yeah, also in the middle of that, like talking about like weird things that happen, in the game world.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the guy who was being attacked by his brother for being a synth?
Yes, no, the guy who thinks his brother's a synth. There's like this whole confrontation. And then one of them shoots the other.
No, they don't. Not when Tonk goes into hyper VATS with his Chinese officer sword that he is wielding now, and goes into VATS and then explodes the brother immediately.
I just watched. Like, I don't know about this synth stuff. Everyone's just talking about it. I
just don't think it's cool to shoot people. If you're going to kill somebody, you got to do it hand to hand.
I guess that's true, yeah.
It's immoral to do so with a weapon. And so, Tonk just like, and legit, the guy blew up. Tonk is also wearing, not quite at this point, but after Hardware Town, is wearing like, or maybe after a different quest, but he's wearing like an augmented metal chest piece, and it's got like a straight up tire around the midsection to keep you from being stabbed.
Yeah.
It's like in that episode of Breaking Bad. So he's like beefy looking. He's like a big dude.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Weirdly enough, Eleanor's wearing, her trademark glasses, but also a fedora and like a weird leather overcoat. So she looks kind of noirish.
It looks like Piper, it sounds like.
Yeah, a little bit, right? Like I'm sort of building an aesthetic here.
But you go to Hardware Town, and there's a little settler outside.
Mm-hmm.
And the settler's like, hey, come in here. Help, help, help. She's injured. And then you run inside, and the settler, like, runs into the back. He's like, she's here. But if you pause for a moment, you can hear them whispering back there. Saying, did you lure? Are they in? Are they here? Blah, blah, blah. And so I'm sneaking around. Tonk's not good at sneaking, but I am hitting the sneak button. sneaking around, and you can drop below the floor. Did you do this?
No, I just waited until they got so frustrated that they kicked open their own door and ruined their ambush, and I blew off all their heads with a shotgun.
Right. So that's the thing. You can hear them. But so if you're sneaking, you can hear them, and they're like, "Where'd they go? They must have left." And then I did the same thing, but with a sword from the other side. I came back from behind them. But it's a cool little like scripted thing that they obviously have different routes that the AI takes. To determining where you are or whatever. I thought it was cool. Did that? Got the paint. Did you mess up the paint?
No.
Oh, so you can mess up the paint. You can say because there's blue paint and yellow paint in Hardware Town, and you're supposed to mix it to get green paint because he wants green paint. But you can just grab yellow paint and be like, "Hey, sorry, they only had yellow paint. There's not that much." And he'll be like, "All right, well, it's more important for the wall to be painted than anything else." And then you just ruin the wall. It just looks not green anymore. It's a real, in case you're like a Yankees fan, you can really take it to the Bostonians there. And then we did this baseball museum thing.
Oh, actually, so there was a little bit extra for me at Hardware Town.
Okay. Oh, okay.
More scripted stuff. I went out the back because there's like a back door. I was just sort of like poking around, seeing what all was around this area. There are more raiders who are hanging out back, who they're positioned in such a way that like you would, if you were approaching from that direction, you would hit them first, right?
Right.
They're like lookouts.
I did hear this conversation they have.
Right, and this is what I mean when I say like this game is weird, because there's like no Fallout humor for the first couple chunks. We hit Diamond City. I haven't said this in as many words, but Diamond City is just Fallout as heck. Right. And then we have this conversation where there are these two raiders who are talking, and they're just kind of like hanging out on watch. And he's like, one of them's like, "Hey, did you know about that other guy we got?" Because you understand that this is like what these raiders do is they like lure travelers in, kill them, and take their stuff.
Yeah, because you can find their like corpse dump.
Yes,
in the basement.
And they're talking about like, there's this one guy who came in who was just like, he like wasn't even armed, or like he was armed, but he had like one type of gun, and he kept pretending it was a machine gun, and whenever he fired he would make like machine gun noises, and then he started pretending to throw grenades, and he was like doing all the grenade sound effects too, and he like fired at everyone, then like backed out of the store, and then like pretended to jump onto a motorcycle and was like making the motorcycle noises. And in fact, like the motorcycle, like it took him a couple times to like get it started. And then he like ran off down the street doing like motorcycle noises. And the guys are just like, "I don't know how you survive. Like, how is someone like that surviving out here?"
I didn't hear the whole conversation. They heard me in the middle of that, but I did go all the way to the grenades part, and I thought that was extremely funny.
Yeah, and so it's just, like, this game is weird in that in one move it kind of seemed like it scaled back the Fallout stuff, and no, like the Wasteland is just as wacky, but in a weird way. It's almost like they're trying to get around some sort of like aesthetic stumble there, right? This is the sort of thing that normally would have been like a Wild or Wacky Wasteland perk thing, right? You meet the guy who pretends he's riding on a motorcycle. And here they just kind of have that tone of thing, but reported sort of, second or third hand in a way that makes it feel like, stuff just happens in the Wasteland. I don't know.
Well, it's resolved. It's resolved a formal problem within Fallout, which is that in Fallout 1 and 2, you would encounter that person because the cost of encountering that person is so incredibly small. It's just a character with a shitload of dialogue description, right? And so Fallout 3 was trying to adapt some of that kind of logic and idea into this 3D space where it's much more costly to do that, right? There's like voice dialogue, you have to have 3D models, he's got to be scripted, he's got to go do stuff, right? Like that doesn't make a lot of sense. So the cost of doing it, testing it, making sure it works, and making sure it doesn't look silly, like Fallout 1 and 2, a lot of that just works by theater of the mind. You can have psychic rats talk to you for forever in that game because it's like, well, whatever, right? Like it's just dialogue. It's all imagined for the most part. And that like that isometric little 3D rat down there, 2D rat, That's just a representation of what's going on here.
Right.
It's hard to make an appropriate and cool looking psychic rat in the Fallout 3 engine, right? But the way that they've resolved it is the way that a lot of things got resolved in the Xbox 360 PS3 generation, which is through Batman Arkham Asylum. I mean, what you just described in that entire conversation is just an Arkham Asylum conversation, right?
Right.
Like, with the expectation that you will be hidden for 90% of that game, and you can hear whatever you want, and that part of the content of that game is waiting and listening. Notably, I think what's pretty fascinating is that that's not, I don't think, the expectation of most of the Fallout games. Like, the expectation is not that you're going to be hiding and hearing things, but they've put that in specifically to reward that kind of play style, in the same way that, like, the going into the basement, what I was just talking about, that's there to reward you for your stealthy, play style. To make that feel like that's just as contentful as like the combat, like if you're straight ahead for every piece of the game, your reward is like the deeper combat mechanics, of which there are quite a lot here. The melee combat's very different. Now they will do things like shoot you and then melee attack you right afterward. That's like a thing that would never happen in games before, or in these games before. But so, like, if you're not into the depth of the combat and you're just a stealth person, you can't just like, it's less fulfilling. It's not you can't. It's less fulfilling to like just run around and do that stuff. What can you do? Well, you get to hear more interesting dialogue or whatever.
Right.
So to me, it's an interesting kind of gameplay or resolution idea here, as much as it is anything else, right? Like it's keeping the wild and wacky wasteland, but within a very predictable structure of AAA game design, of this moment going forward. This is going to be half of Starfield. Just raw reality of it. It's going to be like, all the same storytelling mechanics. I guess what's interesting too is that if this would have showed up in Fallout 3, it would have been more than likely, as you said, you'd either encounter the person themselves, that would be the New Vegas way, or in Fallout 3 terms, it would have been in a terminal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And in this game, there's nothing interesting in terminals.
No, all the terminals have been so boring. I actually stumbled through some it was like a bizarre, what the hell was it? Like I've encountered like a couple of business terminals that in Fallout 3 would have had like a whole little story, right, in like the week or the year leading up to the war, of like someone's not doing something right here at this business. Oh, I hope it gets resolved. Oops, nuclear fire. I've read terminals that are straight up just like shipping logs, and that's it.
Wow.
Like that's just what's it. It's like, okay.
That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
I've not, because my hacking skill's too low, so I can't really access too many of them. But you get in there, you go back, you take the thing back.
Mm-hmm.
He paint wall.
Yeah.
Then I met the baseball guy.
Yes, Mo Cronin.
Yeah. What'd you think about that guy?
This is, as I said, like this Diamond City is so Fallout, right? On the one hand, because it's doing the classic Fallout thing of what if you reinvented society within like the schematic confines of some like social sliver of society, right? What if you rebuilt all of society within a baseball field? Like what happens? Like what kind of weird things arise from that? And this guy is kind of that embodiment, because he's super into old school baseball, but he also tells, like, you can talk to him about baseball, and by his reckoning, baseball was like this blood sport that people played in power armor, and like you didn't, like, it was just like you just killed people, like you didn't really hit a ball around, like your scores were based on how many people you murdered in a game.
Yes.
And you can be like,
did you disabuse him of that notion?
No, I let him go along with it.
I told him, I was like, yeah, you mostly got it right, but it was way more violent. Like, it was way worse than what you're saying. And then at the end of that, he said, I think we're going to go with my version. So it was, again, this kind of moment of like, hey, you get to have the joke of telling him the thing. It kind of goes back to, I don't remember which show it was, but, we had this conversation. I think it was about Fallout. I'm blanking, but like, the idea that reading the options you don't take is like part of the joke?
Yes, this was something that we talked about during Fallout 1 or Fallout 2, right? It was like, because especially so many of those dialogue options, if you chose them, like would aggro everyone in your immediate vicinity if you chose the asshole option. So like it was, you could do that if you wanted to, but it seemed like it was more like you read that, you got the joke, you could imagine what would happen if you did do that, and then instead you did another thing.
Right. And so here that's removed entirely. Because you don't know what you're going to say.
Right.
So like there can be no real consequences for the joke option.
Right.
Because you can't know what the joke option's actually going to do for you.
Right.
And so it's a fascinating kind of turn there.
Right. Is it like a sort of like joke option, like I'm going to make a lighthearted joke with you and that'll make us friends? Or is it a joke option in the sense of like, I'm going to insult you? You can't know.
Mm-hmm. Is it going to be some sort of joke about farting in the water at Zion National Park? Or is it going to be like, well, here I am. I'm the master, and I'm here to destroy the Brotherhood of Steel. Who could know? Could be either. But yeah, so, it's kind of a design choice that really kind of like, narrows the field in terms of like what you can do with outcomes, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, hey, there's an estate here of a famous coach, a little ways away from here. He's got some memorabilia there. I would love to have it for my little museum-y thing for baseball. Can you go get it? And I said yes, and set off across the wasteland to go and do that.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some Mirelurks there because it's like a pond. Basically, it's like a house fallen into a pond, and you can like get up on these platforms and like run from place to place. And if you fall off, you got to fight the Mirelurks essentially. Yep. Mirelurks are hard to kill with the Chinese officer's sword. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no, they're tricky. One thing that is, I think, interesting and sort of appreciable about this is you were talking about this in previous episodes. The different like classes or types of enemies definitely do have different like feelings in how you're combating them. Fallout 3, after a certain point, it really just did feel like, okay, I'm just like shooting everything in the face until it dies. That's it. Doesn't really matter if it's a raider or a Mirelurk or whatever. But on my way out here, I ran into a couple of ghouls, and like ghouls are so fast, have such like sort of distinct patterns from regular like human NPC enemies. And then these Mirelurks, like they can like surprise you. They like burrow into the water or underground, and so they'll just like pop up and rush you. And they're kind of hunched over now. They were always kind of hunched over, but the design has changed a little bit, so they look like kind of horseshoe crabs or something like that. So they have like the little face and like the little arms in their torso where I can shoot them, and that does some pretty good damage. But then they also like their broadest like part, right? The thing that's easiest about them to hit is in fact like their back shell, which has some sort of damage resistance or something, I think. The solution to this in my case is to like just get up on those catwalks. For whatever reason, Piper hangs out at the stairs and gets just absolutely eviscerated for me while I take them out with a rifle.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I actually think that they're kind of like horseshoe crabs, and they're kind of like. Let me show you a little thing. Let me show you a little picture.
Okay.
Because this is why they've always kind of looked this way, but they have leaned in, and the sound effect has really leaned in even more to looking like these things. You remember these things from the 1980s?
No.
You remember the Garthim from the Dark Crystal?
They do look a lot like the Garthim. That's interesting.
They have really leaned into that.
They have.
Because they had that vibe before, but they are really, really similar now. So I like couldn't kill them, like legitimately, like hitting them with a sword was doing jack shit. And so I ran away, and there are some raiders on an overpass nearby.
Ooh.
Did you run into those guys?
No, I didn't.
Well, the Mirelurks don't like them either. And so as like we clip through their like zone, and the Mirelurks are like trying to pathfind up to me, the raiders see them and they start shooting them. But do you know what's stronger than a raider with a gun?
I'm gonna guess maybe some Mirelurks?
Yes, so I watched the Mirelurks just murder all these raiders and then keep coming after me. So I eventually got him. It's unfortunate. This game inherits from the previous Bethesda games, previous this engine games, the 3D Fallouts, that a melee attack cannot target a part of the body. And shooting Mirelurks requires you to shoot them in the face.
Right.
And so it's kind of like luck. Will that hit them in the face? And if so, then you probably get to kill them pretty quickly. And if not, you're just bonking off the shell. So it's really unfortunate, and that means you have to like physically or manually do it. But manually doing it's actually really hard. It's still because they hit so hard. I can only get hit 1 or 2 times. So a little bit of a weird complication for me, but I managed. And then I got all the stuff and I took it back, and he tells you some information about each of the items. He says the baseball cards, like you were saying, the baseball cards tell you how many people they killed on the back of them.
Yes.
The glove was for catching bullets.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember what the ball was for.
I don't remember either.
I'm going to look it up. What's this called? It's called like For the Love of the Game or something.
It's called Out in Left Field.
Out in Left Field, Fallout 4. Let me see if I can do it, because they're all pretty funny. I just let you shout out to the writers of this game. I think they did a quite good job so far. A lot of bugs apparently in this quest, but he won't say. It doesn't tell you. Oh, wait, maybe. Signed baseball. Behind the scenes. Okay.
Well,
are you seeing this?
Are you reading the behind the scenes on the wiki?
I'm reading the behind the scenes on the wiki. Yeah.
Yeah.
The signature. This is from behind the scenes on the wiki for Signed Baseball. I'm glad I looked this up.
Uh-huh.
The signatures on the ball appear to be from various people who were not related to baseball. Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, the first president of Turkey. Catherine Fife, a Canadian politician. Dale Jarrett, a former American race car driver. Gwen Ashley Walters, a chef. Robert C. Apgar, an American lawyer. Arhul Hextrafon, a character in the Star Wars series. Leslie Satcher, a music artist. G. Billy, a character in the online game Club Penguin. And Tammy Simon, the founder of a publishing company. 2 other signatures on the baseball come from unknown sources. Many of the signatures are among the first results on Google Images while searching for a name followed by signature. For example, searching James signature produces one of the signatures on the ball. This same signature has been used on many websites by similarly named people across the internet. An example of this is shown in the gallery image below. This explanation for the obscure references on the ball is also true for Gwen's signature and Billy's signature. So it's someone at the studio or whoever made this texture for this signed baseball just Googled name signature for all these names and then slapped it onto the baseball. What a weird thing to do. Uh-huh. Also, what a weird thing to research.
I was going to say, what I really love about this is that, yes, down there in the gallery, someone has assembled, Super Mario Bros. Style, their photographic evidence showing where all of these signatures come from.
They have. Oh my god.
Just someone doing this on the design end, right? Going through all this work, coming up with this plan, whatever this plan was. And then 2, on the other end, someone who plays the game, finding it, and then, deconstructing it.
Here's a real question for you. How is there a signature for Arhul Hextrafon, a fictional character from Star Wars?
I don't know.
Where does the signature come from?
Let's see here. So that's taking me to the Star Wars wiki.
Oh no, we've gone down a deep hole.
I'm just seeing, is there a signature on his wiki page? No. What?
Oh my god. The mystery goes deeper, y'all. If you can find it out, if you can explain where the signature from Arhul Hextrafon comes from, put it down in the comments below. Or tweet it at us. At Ranged Touch. That's all we did in Diamond City. Next time...
I'm sorry. Arhul Hextropon. Oh my god, Star Wars. It's literally, he's the guy who's standing behind Leia at the end of A New Hope during the awards ceremony. It's just the guy standing back there.
Yeah, it's our whole Hextrafon, dude. You don't know? You're not a fan of shit. You don't know anything about Star Wars, obviously.
Okay.
But next time we're gonna be following. Oh no, actually, I think next time we're doing some additional quests.
Yeah.
We're doing a little bit of a longer, extended quest here. We're gonna be maybe meeting a new faction.
Ooh.
And then we'll be following a little bit later. We'll be following up on Valentine, Nick Valentine, and what he's up to.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess maybe we'll talk more about synths. I have some thoughts on the synth stuff, but I suspect we'll have plenty of opportunities to talk over what's going on there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like when they make the wee wah wee wah and not the whoa 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 whoa.
Great.
Yep. Okay, so Michael, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Warren is Dead.
You can go to patreon.com/rangedtouch in order to support us. That would be super cool if you like listening to the show. If you enjoy what we do, if you enjoy the work here, go and throw us a couple bucks a month. If you give us $3 a month, you can have access to a super secret private RSS feed that has that allows you to listen to the show in podcast form if you don't want to watch the video. If you want to listen to it on the go. And you can check out all the other shows that we do as well, like Just King Things, where we're reading through the work of Stephen King in publication order. We're probably, by the time you're hearing this, we have just covered the Tommyknockers, I would assume. So we're in the late 80s. Mm-hmm. You can check out other shows like Mages and Murder Dads, where Danny and I do a very similar show to this one, but about the Baldur's Gate lineage. You can check out Homestuck Made This World. This is the show where we read through Homestuck, also in publication order. We kind of reconstruct history there. Michael's guiding me through it. And Game Study Study Buddies, where we talk about game studies. And I have probably just finished up the Summer of Classics, or maybe we're in it. I don't know when these episodes are coming out yet. So it's great stuff, and of course this is all Patreon supported. So if you throw us a couple bucks a month, you are helping us cover the time and effort and research for all these different shows, of which there is a lot. I promise you. Yeah, Michael's reading a lot of forum posts all the time. But we'll be back in 2 weeks with the next episode of this. We'll be doing some more side quests and things like that, meeting a new faction. And we hope you enjoy it. Hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. That would help us out a whole bunch. Michael, check us out.
Fallout changed. Maybe War did too.